Welcome back, everyone, to another Hearts of Iron 4 Developer Diary analysis overview. And this time we have a big one. It is stability and war support. It is actually something that I've been waiting for a while to see something like this. And it's quite good. Now, this is actually about the National Unity modifier. Of course, National Unity wasn't really all that important because, as they say, a player who's winning doesn't really care what the National Unity is unless you get nuked and then you get para dropped on or something like that. Overall, does not really come into play all that often. But with this new update, they're going to be adding in two modifiers as opposed to what they had before. So obviously stability and war support. Now these are values shown on the top part of the first National Unity, and basically war support does what National Unity used to do, as in the less war support you have, the quicker you're going to surrender. Of course, if they take a higher number of victory points, then of course your war support, you're going to capitulate. But they've also added stability, and in adding war support isn't actually just National Unity. As you can see, it is more than that, and that's great. So stability is pretty much what you expect, right? So it averages out at 50%. So as you can see right now in the picture, France is at 20%. That is because, of course, France starts off with a bit of a lower start. And it affects things like factory output, political power, and consumer goods, as you can see up here. And once you drop below 50%, there are penalties instead, as well as lowering the surrender limit. So, of course, that also comes into play to the surrender limit, and that's quite good. You can help increase stability with strong party support, and of course stability lowers when things such as wars tend to happen. Instability works to protect against coups. Now, I am guessing that this is mostly just going to be a, for example, minus something foreign subversive activities modifier. So overall, a pretty good addition to the game, and I like what they're doing, especially since then war support is actually a lot more interesting in my opinion, but still stability is a welcome addition. What I like about it is that later on, let's just go down here, they show events that can happen when your nation is low on war support. For example, here is draft dodging, and what I love about it is that I think they're going to be, at least for modders, you're going to be able to, of course, code events so that they're more likely to happen if you're below a certain war support or a certain stability as well. So what we could see is a lot more flavor when it comes to politics, a much more diversified politics system that maybe would be based not only on party popularity but also on stability, and that can give you some more dynamic events for certain types of playthroughs. Of course, if you start off with a very, very low stability with a country, such as, let's just take an example of like France and vanilla, or maybe even Russia and Kaiserreich, then you could have a lot of events popping up more dynamically than in normal Hearts of Iron 4, where everything's pretty much hard-coded. And that's pretty nice, of course. That would increase replayability, etc., and that would be nice overall. And I like the change as it is. But what's even better is the war support mechanic. Now, war support is basically how prepared your population is to go to war, of course, and it is changed up by things such as whether or not you're in a defensive or an offensive war, whether you're a democracy or a dictatorship. And as you can see right here, some of the some national spirits, such as, of course, victors of the Great War, can increase or decrease it. And it changes your mobilization speed. Now, mobilization, I'm not sure if they've actually covered it anywhere, but it is a new mechanic where the more mobilized you are, the faster you will gain manpower, as opposed to gaining manpower instantly when you change your recruitment laws. It's shown over here. And that's also a nice mechanic because it kind of prevents people from being able to instantly replenish all their armies just by changing a law. And also, it kind of incentivizes changing recruitment laws a little bit before you're actually in trouble when it comes to manpower, so that you're kind of, planning ahead instead of Of course, right now you can just let your manpower go near 0 and say, oh, look, I need to change my manpower law, and then you get instantly like 1,000,000 more manpower. Right now, it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to do that anymore. They have also introduced another modifier called National Pride, which is from Hearts of Iron 3. I'm not sure where this modifier will be included, but it seems like it will be essentially division attack on core territory. Now, I'm kind of I don't know. I'm kind of not really I'm kind of on the fence, right? Because I mean, there was already the stat for offensive war support, not for offensive war support, sorry, for division attack on core territory. So I'm not too sure about this. I mean, it could have just been there already. And overall, another nice thing. Now, I'm not 100% on this because whether or not this depends on whether or not they're gonna have a good algorithm for actually calculating how this is. But as you can see, the air war also affects things such as bombing that will lower war support. And shooting down bombers will increase war support because it will be kind of you protecting your people from enemy strategic terror bombing. Now, this is kind of controversial because, like, most modern war literature kind of goes against the notion that the terror bombing actually reduced civilian morale. In fact, most kind of scholars agree that it's actually the opposite, that the more people used to get bombed in a total war type of environment, the more their sort of hatred for the enemy increased. And so the more they supported their own government, because of course, if they're bombing innocents, then they're really the evil people that are, of course, propaganda really claims that they are. That's just kind of the argument. And that's, I mean, to me that makes sense, right? So I'm not entirely sure on this. And also, another thing that I'm not sure about this is that, for example, right now, also war participation is calculated by bombing as well. And sometimes those numbers are really quite weird in the way they end up working out. Like, it's just kind of hard to determine exactly how much impact your strategic bombing is actually having. So I'm not 100% on that. Then, of course, there's events that are available depending. Here they say on war support, but again, I hope that they can be corded in for events for low or high stability as well, so that you can get, of course, for example, if you're in high stability, you can get like surge of volunteers or something, and if you're low stability, you can get, I don't know, enemy factions try a coup, something like that. That would be a little bit more expansive than just having events for, as you can see here, draft dodging. And that's a nice event. Look at that. It's got a lot of different possibilities. I definitely enjoy that. And there's also a thing called Conscription Rebellion. So what I'm hoping that is that actual enemy units will spawn, and, like, for example, some of your army will try to defect to, for example, maybe maybe not the enemy in general, but maybe to another faction, another political faction, and spark a civil war. That would be really good. What would also be really good is a partisan system where partisans can actually spawn, and maybe partisans with one type of allegiance or the other, and then try to, of course, take over the country. That would be very, very nice. Also, what would also be nice is if these partisans can have a separatist allegiance as well. That would be even better. So all those possibilities are open, and I would love for every one of those to be incorporated, because right now that kind of aspect of the game is really sorely lacking. So the more that happens, the better it is. And of course, certain events that are historical events do give you various different buffs that are integrated with these new modifiers. For example, of course, the Angelus increases your war support. And overall, it just seems like a lot of these events will be intermingled with things that are already in the game, which is nice, of course. And of course, war support is affected by how your allies are doing, and if a major ally surrenders, it will lower your war support. That's, of course, pretty standard. Although, again, remains to be seen how much these are actually going to be balanced in the game. For example, it would be kind of weird if, like, the Axis were able to capitulate, for example, France, the UK, and the Soviet Union, and maybe even well, what would be a good example for this? Maybe if somehow Turkey joins the Allies and somehow they're a major power and they capitulate them as well, maybe then the United States, if they have a slightly lower than usual not national unity, sorry, war support, maybe then the United States would just like randomly surrender. That that is the risk, I guess you could say. Although it kind of makes sense. I mean, Hitler did think that by taking over France, he would force the British to surrender, but of course, in the end, it did not happen. It would still be kind of nice for the possibility of that to happen. So, for example, if Germany gets taken out, then Italy will have a much more reduced war support, and they might just capitulate. And generally, I think that for a better, I guess you could say, for a better implementation of something like this, if a country is, well, shouldn't just be if a major ally surrenders. What I'm interpreting this as is the great power, or I guess major combatant system, where, of course, if you capitulate all the majors that are fighting in the war, then the war is over. That's what I'm interpreting this as, all those majors. But what would be better, I think, is if an ally that is actually stronger than you in terms of, for example, industry or manpower fielded capitulates, then it is an even bigger impact on your war support. Because, hey, if they were bigger than us and they capitulated, we're kind of screwed, That's kind of the effect that I want to go for. And then there are also some ways to affect war support and stability outside of events, ministers, and national focuses that aren't ready to show off yet. That, of course, is quite regular. Now, very quickly before I go off, I'm going to quickly go ahead and look at, if you can see right here, there's where I'm clicking right now, there's a telephone, a red telephone right near the army experience. I wonder what this is. I have no idea what it could be. Maybe it could be diplomatic points of some kind. So maybe they're going to try to overhaul the diplomatic system a little bit more. Maybe it's espionage. It's a red telephone, so that kind of makes me think of, the Cold War, the Soviet Union, the red telephones. Not 100% on this. Who knows what that could be? And then if we go ahead and look down, this thing, that, of course, you can now, I think, just pop away the event pop-ups, make them go into a, like, I guess you could say they could go into here, into one of these icons, so that you can actually just put them off for a bit. That's nice, because having those event little event pop-ups whenever you're trying to do something and you're just not really too interested in what the event is right now, that's kind of annoying. So the fact that you can put them away in another screen, it's a little bit better. And yeah, I think that's just going to be about it for now. Yes, I hope you've enjoyed. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it all, and I hope you've got some nice ideas about all of this. If you do, post them down in the comments. As always, remember, more of these will be coming out in the future, so if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, you can do so if you've enjoyed this. And yeah, just post down what you think. Hope you've all enjoyed. Hope you've had a wonderful little time, and I'll see you soon.